again. So the town site of Granville is surveyed in 1870. Now, the Royal Engineers come to and survey New Westminster in 1858, the year of the gold rush. New Westminster is the capital. All traffic is between Victoria and New Westminster. But sometimes in the winter, the Fraser River freezes up, and the ships come into this excellent harbor, Burrard Inlet. And the first connection between Vancouver and New Westminster is a road at the end of the inlet where the Second Narrows Bridge is, New Brighton Park. From that park, there's a road that goes to New Westminster. Dangerous road, bears, you could get lost in the woods. So the ships, when the river is frozen, come in here. So in 1862, the three greenhorns, Sonny has been doing some, come up here and establish a coal miner's claim. The West End, 500 acres. And at some point, depending on what evidence you believe, Portuguese Joe and the other Portuguese participate in the gold rush in 1858, 1860, and start living at Brockton Point. By the late 1860s, 1867, 1868, Gassy Jack has a saloon, Portuguese Joe has a hole in the wall, which nobody knows really what that is, a little cafe, saloon as well, and Gregory Fernandez has the first store. They're living in Gastown. It's not surveyed. They're serving a community on Hastings Mill. There's a sawmill east of Gastown, and the sawmill is run by a Methodist who doesn't let the men drink. So Gassy Jack comes here with his 12-year-old wife and sets up the Globe Saloon in about 1867. The engineers finally got around to come to Granville in 1870, and they surveyed the town site of Granville, which is only 2 blocks up to Canby. We're now outside of Gastown. 2 blocks, Water Street to Canby, where we're heading, and they have an auction for lots. Only 3 lots are sold. Gassy Jack buys his lot for $100 for a saloon. A fellow named Ebenezer Brown buys a lot for his hotel, and at that time, or perhaps within the first year, Portuguese Joe Silvey buys his lot, which we're going to go and visit, where his hole in the wall is, and Gregory Fernandez buys his lot where the store is. So the Portuguese are the first landowners in Vancouver. We're at Portuguese Corner because we're at the corner of Water and Abbott, which was the end of 1 block of Gastown. And at the lot number 7, at where the Dominion Hotel is, the Lamplighter Pub, which is the southeast corner, was Portuguese Joe Silvey's hole in the wall establishment. And where we are, standing right here, was Gregory Fernandez's store, built on stilts. So, for example, some Aboriginal people from Stanley Park would row over here with milk, which Gregory would sell in the store. The Royal Engineers, when they surveyed Stanley Park, had dropped some cows off, and Gregory Fernandez had a wharf here, where we're standing. Portuguese Joe sold his store to some hand loggers at a very reasonable price, and left town. His wife had died, he had 2 young children, he was in a difficult situation, and he went up to the Sechelt coast where he married his second wife, and then he took his family to Reed Island. Gregory Fernandez ran the store here. It had a big cordwood stove. Gassy Jack had the Globe Saloon at the 1 block from here. We'll walk towards there. Gregory Fernandez was a colorful character. He was said to have worn an earring and has been described as a blackguard by some contemporaries. One day, a contemporary of his, or a countryman of his, came into his store to demand some money that Gregory owed him. And Gregorio Fernandez took out a pistol from behind the counter and shot him. Luckily, he didn't kill him. And he was charged with attempted murder and tried by Judge Begbie, who was known as the hanging judge. But he was acquitted because he had a good lawyer. Gregorio is the first coffee roaster in British Columbia. He manufactured biscuits. He had a store in New Westminster, of which we have a photo. I don't have a photo here today, but there's a photo of his store. He advertised in the Mainland Guardian about his excellent coffee. He got into different scraps. He started a court case in Victoria, which is reported in the newspapers. He sued a woman of the night for $5. And the paper describes how he had to flee the courthouse when the judge admonished him. Told him to get the hell out. He wasn't going to order the prostitute. He claimed she had stolen $5. He had spent the night with her. He's reputed to have gotten another altercation and fled to Siwash Rock. Definitely a lot of stories about him. The 1857 street directory of San Francisco lists a Gregorio Fernandes as a fruit and vegetable vendor. So my theory is he came up in 1858, and then he died shortly after he was acquitted. His nephew comes in 1874, Gonçalves, who eventually winds up Pender Harbor, hence Madeira Park. And he lands in Westminster and walks to Gastown. And his uncle dies probably in 1876. Sonny and I have been doing some research. We can't find his death certificate. There's a couple of obituaries in 1876. So that's the Madeira connection. Unfortunately, there's no street around here. There isn't a plaque to commemorate and remember these early Portuguese settlers who have been forgotten or ignored by the traditional historians. But I think Jane Barman's book, The Remarkable Adventures of Portuguese Joe Silvey and Forgotten Families of Stanley Park, and now the documentary, hopefully will revive an interest in the more hidden history of British Columbia